Hi, girls. Sorry not to be with you again this Monday, but my kid again is sick. We were largely going to have a work day today anyway, so there's just a couple things we need to set up and clarify for the week, and we can keep moving along accordingly. So, obviously, the DBQ is due this week, so if you've got any questions or any drafts or anything like that, just let me know and email those on over, and I will be on email off and on all day, and we'll be happy to reply and provide any feedback or answer any questions you may have along the way. Today, we are going to start up our Cold War unit, and Cold War unit's going to be a different kind of unit. It's largely going to be self driven, which is why today was going to be largely a work day anyway. What it's asked, here's the entire notes handout. I'm just giving you the notes handout in digital form because it's largely going to be self directed. And you just need to apply these readings on over to the study guide. Because we have a fairly busy stretch and because this is so self directed, I've provided a couple completed study guides. You don't want to rely entirely on those completed study guides, but it'll just hasten and quicken the amount of time you need to spend building up this unit in advance of our test, which is going to be next week on Wednesday. The reason the test is on Wednesday is we have kind of an odd week next week with career day, and then there are like two single block days or whatever. So we're just going to focus in on our double block day next week for the test. You just need to apply the Cold War notes on over to the study guide. And yeah, here's a couple versions of the study guide already completed. I would just take over a look over those, see which one you like better, and just download and save that. And then you can just add your own 2 cents onto that study guide and just kind of use that as a baseline and just make it your own. So let's take a look at the Cold War notes here together briefly. And we'll just go for a little intro of the Cold War. And then you can be on your way for a workday. So the Cold War, after World War II, you had the Allies, the liberal powers, and the communist USSR fighting on the same side, and they militarily defeat fascism. And the Russians come from the east towards the west, and basically every part of Europe that they liberate from Nazi rule, they shape in their image of communism and make those communist countries. And then the Brits and the Americans are coming from the West, and all parts of Europe that they liberate from Nazi rule, they make in their own image in terms of liberalism. And this sets up the Cold War then in Europe and globally. It is an ideological struggle for influence and dominance around the world. And the front line of this struggle for ideological influence is Europe. Whether the ideological blueprint, if you will, model for the world going forward after World War II will be communism or liberalism. So what it sets up, and you can read, and again, you just want to apply this to the study guide, and use one of the study guides if you want that's already completed, and you can just add on, or you can do your own, which might be preferable. But in Europe, what it sets up is this dividing line here. Like I said, the Eastern societies that the Soviet Union had liberated from Nazi rule, they form in their own image and make communist societies. And the Western societies that the Brits and the Americans had liberated from Nazi rule, they forge in their own image and make liberal societies. And it creates this dividing line. Now, this is not a literal wall, and I would make sure you note that for yourself here. But this famously, in a speech by British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, becomes known as the Iron Curtain. This becomes the dividing line between the liberal West in Europe and the communist East. Now, again, this is not a literal wall, but just a figurative Iron Curtain. Behind this Iron Curtain are the communist societies of the East that are under the control of the Soviet Union and become part of the Soviet empire. Just looking at these other maps here, Germany is the kind of front line of all the societies. Germany is kind of the front line of the Cold War. Obviously, Germany, the leading fascist powers that the Allies, the liberal powers, and the Soviet Union sought to defeat. And this is a map of Germany, and here you can see how it's split between the Soviet zone, and here's Berlin, and then the liberal zones of British, French, and American control. Here's a better map of Germany. So after World War II, Germany is no longer a unified country anymore. There's communist Germany, East Germany is its own country, and then West Germany, liberal Germany, is a separate country. So Germany becomes divided. And then, even more particularly divided, Berlin, the Allies divide the capital city. Berlin here, located here in East Germany, but the city of Berlin gets split between the east side of Berlin is communist, but West Berlin is under the influence and control of the liberal powers. So you have this little island of liberalism in the larger sea of communist influence and domination. And now this is a literal wall. Here's the city of Berlin, this little island. The communists, the East German communist government, completely walls off that part of the city to contain liberal, capitalist, democratic influence so that influence couldn't spread. And also, a lot of people were running away to West Berlin, away from communism, away from the communist bloc. So they literally build a wall around the entire part of West Berlin, this little island that gets walled off of liberalism in the context of the larger context of divided Germany and communist East Germany. And here's kind of an indicator of the wall, okay? So anyway, that's the intro to the intro, and you can read that section and then just keep rolling into part 2, and the study guide connects with that. It says part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5. You can just work on this on your own. Again, the test is next week. Because we have this paper due this week, I gave you the completed study guides. So I think that'll help make things a lot quicker and easier and for you. So that's the way we're going to play this week and next week. The rest of the class today, we just have time to work. Send me any questions you have about the paper. Work away on the paper. Work away on Cold War. The Cold War unit, the notes handout is fairly long. I think we're talking about roughly 20 pages, but there's a lot more like maps and pictures and graphs and charts than normal. So although it is 20 pages, there's a decent amount of imagery and then just background reading that you can honestly just copy and paste into the study guide, and you already have a couple completed study guides. So I'm hoping that's going to make it a lot quicker and more efficient process for you. Let me know if you have any questions about any of this, girls. Send me an email, and I will see you on Tuesday. See you tomorrow.